If a millionaire's tax does pass, the city of Boston could certainly benefit. But many of the 19,000 plus people who would be required to pay more live in the city too. So where does its mayor come down? That mayor joins me now, Marty Walsh. Mr. Mayor, thanks. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
We'll get back to that in a minute. I want to talk about current events first. In the wake of the shooting in Virginia and the involvement of the Capitol Police, a number of people, I think predictably, are saying the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun, you've heard this before, is by arming the good guys with guns. How do you respond to that? I mean, it worked today with the Capitol Police.
Yeah, I mean, it did work today, I guess, to some degree. 5 people still got shot, and I don't know the circumstances behind this gentleman. Did he have was it legally owned gun?
I don't know.
How did he have access to a gun? But to bring it back to the city of Boston and the kids in our neighborhoods and the kids in our street that have access to guns, they have too much access to guns. I mean, I think that some kids, both sides have guns, and it's not good for the city of Boston. So I think that in an urban area, particularly in our city, what I want to do is continue to take guns off the street. That was that's a horrible incident. What happened today potentially could have been a disaster for a lot of people.
Speaking of major urban areas, you're essentially your equal in London. Sadiq Khan has said he does not want Donald Trump to get a state visit to Great Britain. He says his policies go against everything we stand for. Yeah. Is he making the right move?
I mean, I think he is. Trump was very critical of him right after the incident what happened. So I think that the mayor is probably frustrated with that. The first Muslim mayor of England and of London, I should say. Understanding what Trump's comments have been over Muslims indirectly since he's been a candidate, and he hasn't really made any crazy statements since he's been president of Muslims, other than putting in a ban in place or trying to put a ban in place. So, I think he has his right to speak his mind, his opinion. I think the people of England are really upset with Donald Trump. He's basically, has taken them on in a little bit different ways. And I felt that after the incident that happened in London, Trump tweeted something, and I felt that was something that the President of the United States of America should have addressed to the people of the world.
So he has spoken ill of you as well, and I think
but
you
not
could
since
say,
then.
Well, yeah, but you would say the same words. His policies go against everything we stand for.
They do.
Would you want him here?
They do. I mean, they do go against everything we stand for.
So would you want him in Boston?
I mean, if he wants to come to Boston, he can come to Boston and let people of Boston let them know how he feels about his policies. I think that's something that would be the place. I think he's the President of the United States of America. Nobody has a right, no mayor has a right not to allow or to accept the president coming to their town.
I know you're not a lawyer, but I'm sure you've been following all these Comey sessions, hearings as best you can, considering your day job. Do you think the President of the United States has obstructed justice, Mr. Mayor?
It's hard to say. It's an awful, awful embarrassment for the United States of America watching this soap opera unfold every single night, where Sessions gets in last night and contradicts what Comey said, and Comey's accusing the president of being a liar, and it's just a sad situation, and I would hope that the president did not obstruct justice here.
But in your gut, do you think he did? I mean, you're a citizen too, in addition
I
to
don't want to prejudge anything. I want to let this thing play out before I say anything. I think, again, I think that I would hope that the president wouldn't do that, but it doesn't seem. It seems like there's a lot more to the story that's going to come out.
Let's come back to Boston if we can. You've spoken a lot in the last couple of years about racial issues in Boston, I think quite candidly. People, I assume, know there's now this video, this grainy video that appears to have a police officer. It ends with, "This summer, black people have met their match." What's your reaction? What do you plan to do about this?
I was angry about it when I first heard it. I actually heard it right after our show when I was on your show last week. I got out and one of the news outlets grabbed me there, and it's under investigation today. I spoke to Commissioner Evans. It's still under investigation. This is Friday. Now it's Wednesday, so we're still trying to get to the bottom of it. Certainly, a police officer concerns me. That a police officer potentially would do something like this, videotape or be part of a videotape. Again, I think that's under investigation. It is what it appears. Should he be fired? It's either potential termination or a long-term suspension. And again, I don't know the particulars yet, but certainly anything to do with race is not something we can tolerate.
Have you, when you were asked about this first, I'm not sure if it was the Herald or who asked you about it first.
Fox 25.
Was it Fox 25? Yeah. You said you hadn't seen the whole video.
No, I still haven't seen the video.
Not?
No,
why would you not?
Commissioner Evans has it. I've seen parts of it. I've seen parts of the news had on there, and then I've seen parts of other ones, but I have not asked for anyone for a copy of the video. I know that it's not a good video.
But if it's as it appears to be, should this cop be fired? Should it be allowed?
Potentially, yes. I just have to see what the rules are. Unfortunately, we have to deal with employment law as well. But again, It's under investigation. It's being taken very, very seriously. And as I said then, and I'll say today, even if it was during off hours, a police officer is a sworn officer of the law, and whether they're on duty or off duty, they're still on duty.
You know, speaking, you just mentioned you were at the library with us in Boston Public Radio last week. Before that, the month before, you knew you were about to get yourself in hot water. In fact, you said, when I say this, I'm probably going to get a little bit of trouble. Here's a piece of what the mayor had to say on Boston Public Radio.
Pedestrians need to put their head up when they're walking down the street, take your headphones off, cross in the crosswalk, follow the lights. You can't be running across the middle of a street. You got to understand cars are going to hit you.
And this came immediately after this Rick Archer was killed, the cyclist was killed. Here's some of the responses. I know you've heard these. The head of the Boston Cyclists Union said Boston's clueless mayor blames cyclists, pedestrians for lethal crashes. There were others who said similar things. What do you say to this guy and people like him?
He shouldn't. That response was not appropriate.
Why not?
If you listen to the whole show, a little later in that clip, I talk about cars paying attention as well, and I talk about making sure that we have roads on our streets, and that was not in response to the cyclist dying. It was in response to just people on the roads, whether it was injured by auto accidents or people crossing the street or bikes hitting people. We were talking about how do we coexist on the roads, and when we have our streets of Boston, and as we move further into the 21st century, transportation modes are changing. We're going to have more people taking bicycles, more people pedestrians walking, more people running, and we have more cars on the street because we have more jobs and more people living in the city of Boston. So we have to coexist on the roads, and we have to be careful of one another.
Can we spend the rest of the time talking about finances,
Let's do it.
financial things, millionaires tax?
We're
having a debate here tonight.
AAA bond rating in the city of Boston.
We're going to get the bond rating in a second. When we spoke again on Friday, I asked you if you supported the millionaires tax,
and at that point,
you said it's likely, but so where are we now?
What I want to make sure is that as we talk about where the revenue from this tax is going, I want to have a say in where this money is going. When I think about the city budget, 70% of our budget is based off of real estate taxes. And we're talking about, I have a proposal in front of the legislature now, which is a good proposal, to pay for universal health insurance, universal pre-kindergarten schools. I want to make sure how this money comes to the city of Boston.
So you need the legislature to make a prior commitment to you before you support the question?
I need some help on how this money will be spent in the city of Boston.
But until that point, you won't endorse the question?
Well, I'm going to have conversations about it because I'm concerned about making sure the revenue hits the streets of Boston.
What if they don't make a promise? What if the legislative leaders say, I'm not going to promise you in advance how we're going to spend the money?
We'll see what happens.
Speaking of finances, you mentioned the city's bond rating. Let's talk about the state bond rating. Downgraded for the first time in a quarter of a century. Governor said it was a wake-up call. Jay Gonzalez, Democrat running for governor, said Governor Baker is failing us. Do you agree with Gonzalez?
I don't know if he's failing. I wouldn't say failing, but I think there's certainly some structural issues with the state budget. I mean, I see it in my own budget in the city as far as the money that we're not getting to the city of Boston. The fact that the House and the Senate has negotiated two different budgets, and now they're doing conference committee where they have to cut $500 million or so out of the budget. There's a structural issue there that they have to figure out.
Speaking of Gonzalez, last time you were here, I asked you if there's any chance you'd vote for Charlie Baker, a Republican. You said you never voted for a Republican in your life, but you have to see what happens.
Yes.
You any closer to a decision?
I'm running for election for mayor, and I'm focused on my race for mayor in November.
And you're not ready to say that you'll support whatever Democrat gets a nomination?
I'm focusing on getting reelected as mayor of the city of Boston.
When you said the other day that you were taken by surprise when you heard that Jeff Immelt, almost a nanosecond after they got here, is leaving the leadership of GE, when someone like you makes a comment like that, it seems to me that underneath the comment, you're a little aggravated that you were not given a heads up.
No,
Are you worried at all?
No, I wouldn't say aggravated. Now that a couple of days has gone by and the dust has settled, the new person that's going in has a healthcare background, and you can kind of clearly see maybe some of the move of GE to Boston was really about healthcare. And this person Mr. Flannery, I believe his name was, ran the healthcare division of General Electric. So you can start to see maybe a little direction of where the company's going to go in the future.
Last financial question. Who paid for dinner with you and Joe Biden?
I did.
You did?
Yes. He wanted to. I said, no, I'll pay.
It's very generous of you. No name, right? It's cheap place.
No. Well, I would have gone somewhere else. It was great. Joe Biden was great when he came to Boston. And then right afterwards, he came to an event with me, the Girls and Boys Club of George Stern. He was a huge success. He walks in the front door. People took a double take, and then he got a standing ovation. It was great.
If he runs for president, you with him?
Probably, yes.
Probably, yes. Nice to see you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Marty Walsh. Appreciate it.